Good morning. We are back live. Coffee with Rich. Cody, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you now, my
Okay.
friend.
Okay, good. All right. If you're still watching this, you're a glutton for punishment. Okay. Let's see here. We'll wait for folks to jump back on. Cody, we may have to do a quick little re-intro.
Yeah, we can do a recap. That's fine.
Okay. I just got the notification on Facebook that we are live again. We got one person joining us. Sorry, folks. It wouldn't be, Black Friday if we didn't have some issues here with the internet. And maybe that's what's driving it. Everybody's on the internet this morning getting their Black Friday deals.
Right.
Sorry, folks. Thank you to the 9 folks that have already jumped back on. Please like and share. Will Parker, good morning. We're going to do a quick recap for those of you that missed it, just so that this can be a standalone episode, and I'll delete the other one. I'm joined this morning. Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Rich. My name is Rich Brown. If you want to find out more about me and my bio, please check out AmericanWarriorSociety.com, where you can also read our latest article that we just got published on the site, which is Breaking Your Opponent's Will, 6 undertaught and underutilized rules to help you win the fight. We also want to thank our American Warrior Show sponsors this morning, because I am the co-host of the American Warrior Show, America's #1 self-defense podcast. If you want to find out more about that, please click on the link in today's show notes. And today I'm joined by my jiu-jitsu coach, Mr. Cody Hudson. Good morning, Cody.
Hey, good morning, Rich. How are you today?
Doing well. Let's welcome the guests on this morning. Christopher Frank says Gunjitsu. Will Parker is on out there in Montana. Coin number 800. If you want to know what a coin number is, please check out AmericanWarriorSociety.com to find out more. Alan Kelly is on. Jacko from South Africa. Good morning. And I may be mispronouncing that name. Is it Yako? I'm not sure. It says, how's it, Rich? Good morning, sir. Sid is on. Gerald is on. Bruce is on. Thank you to those that are on this morning. Please like and hit that share button to share this content. We got a good show coming up with Cody Hudson. Cody, please reintroduce yourself if you would, please.
Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. Like you can see, I'm Cody Hudson. A little quick about me. I'm a federal law enforcement officer here in the great state of Tennessee. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, where I teach a lot of law enforcement officers, military, first responders, and also the co-host of the GunJitsu Podcast and everything. So that's a short bio about me.
And if you're just joining us, Cody and I were on, and we had I had some internet problems. I'm not going to say I had internet problems. So we're back on again for round 2. And I just wanted to say, what got you into martial arts originally? You just told us a little story, but for those that didn't catch it, could you reintroduce that?
Yeah, I'll recap. So it was back, I was probably about 17, 18 years old, and I had a real good friend at the time, still a friend to this day, but he was a judo guy. And, judo's, traditionally it's all stand up with a little bit of grappling, not as much as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but so we'd have fight night over at the buddies' college apartments or wherever, and we'd move all the furniture basically out of this apartment, and it would be a bare empty apartment or house, wherever we were at the time. We eventually, and this is a little more added to it, but we eventually bought mats and lined a basement with them, and it got pretty serious. But this friend of mine, he would completely wreck all of us. He was, he'd only been training judo for about 6 months, and he would submit all of us. And I was finally like, what is this madness? He's like, it's judo. And I was like, I don't want to stand up. I don't want to be thrown. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to be taken down. I just want to do grappling. What is that? And he goes, you probably need a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. So that kind of kicked off. I think that was 2004. I believe, 2004 when I found my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school.
Yeah. So, and have you been at it pretty much ever since?
Yeah, I pretty much have not stopped over, I guess, you can say 16 years. There's been some little hiatuses here and there from injuries and things like that, but it's been a solid 16 years. It's just been enough time to heal and get back on the mats.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think you stayed in BJJ instead of something else?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess I'm very competitive. I guess I have that deep down inside, that competitiveness, and jiu-jitsu is just one of those things that I found it early on, and it kind of fulfilled my heart, and it still does to this day. and it's just something I don't know if I could live without.
Mm.
So I just love it.
Yeah, thank you to the 20 folks that are joining us live this morning. Please like and share. We've got a lot coming up this morning. Tony says we're back. That's right. Good morning, sir. Welcome back. John says, good morning, guys. John here in Pennsylvania. Peter is listening while the wife does the Black Friday shopping. And please share this because I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that are in the same boat this morning. I would want to ask you, though, is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu good? Could it be good for everyone? I mean, could anybody learn it?
In my opinion, the answer is yes. It really could be for everybody. I'm a certified black belt through the Gracie Baja Association, and their slogan is Jiu-Jitsu for everyone. So, meaning it really can be for everyone if that person chooses. Now, when I say that, I mean, physically it can be for everybody. Mentally, it might not be for everybody. There's people that just might not be into rolling around on the floor or rolling around on the ground, and that's completely fine. There's plenty of other martial arts out there for people that want to do that stuff. But if you're interested in jiu-jitsu, I don't think there's any body types out there that just can't do it. I mean, everybody can do it. I've seen guys that train with me that's had almost no, they're older guys and they've had little to no mobility over the years, getting up off the floor, getting up off the ground, and they train with me for a month, and you're watching them pop up from the floor to their feet, and they're like, man, I hadn't moved like that in years, because they're finally working those kinks out, and they're starting to get physically healthy and stuff, and it really helps. It builds strength, it builds cardio. I mean, it really is for everybody. I mean, I can't think of the Instagram page of it, but she's a Gracie Baja blue belt, but I think it's something like Jiu-Jitsu grandma or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, she's in her late 60s or 70s, and she's a blue belt. And she just fought. I saw on the old interweb, I saw she fought at a Pan Am or Masters World. I forgot what she fought at, but she actually went and fought in a tournament, in her 60s or 70s and everything. And by no means is that an old. That's just a number. You're only old as you want to be. So I mean, anybody can do it. You just gotta want to do it.
Well, and on the previous show, which the internet wrecked for us, we were talking, Cody, about it took you over 2 years to get your blue belt. So you're a white belt for 2 years. You talked about how the first couple months, all you did was double leg takedowns. So there's some things about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, depending on the coach you get, that can be pretty, well, just like that. Like I'm going to put you in the corner with the little boys, and you're going to play these silly games. And
right.
One of the things about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'd like for you to touch on it a little bit if you could, and that is that they don't give away belts there.
Right.
You're going to work for every stinking doggone stripe you get, and it takes probably longer to get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt than I would have imagined any other martial art out there. Would you talk about that?
Yeah. So as you said, I was a white belt for 2.5 years. Kind of give everybody a breakdown on like my belt progression, but there's 5 belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's white, blue, purple, brown, and black. These are all adult belts. Kids start at white belt, adults start at white belt. They have a different belt progression that I won't even get into because honestly, I'd have to pull up a chart and look at it because they got so many different colored belts and stripes and stuff like that because you got to keep the kids interested and everything. But adults, it's bare minimum. It's 5 belts. It took me 2.5 years at white belt. Got my blue belt, I want to say around 2007, something like that. Blue belt, 3 years. Got my purple belt. I was a purple belt for 4 years. Then I got my brown belt. I was a brown belt for 2.5 years, and then got my black belt. So if you add up and do all the math on that, I think that puts me right around 12 years it took me to go from white belt to black belt and everything. So I got my black belt in 2016. So I've had it for about 4.5 years now.
Yeah, and you promoted me to blue belt July of last year, and I think I was 2 months shy of 2 years as a white belt. Yeah.
You were on my plan, and nobody should ever be on my plan if you show up a day or two a week. So So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, good morning and welcome to the 20 folks that are still with us this morning. Got a lot more to cover. Please hit that share button and share this content with somebody, because now we're going to talk about Gunjitsu. I want to talk a little bit about, your podcast that you have with our good friend Andrew,
Yep.
what that's all about and where did that come from?
Yeah, so a lot of you guys probably know Mr. Old Andrew Keith, my cohort on the GunJitsu Podcast. I guess about this time last year, we were kind of sitting around and was like, hey, we're competitive shooters. Hey, we train jiu-jitsu. Why don't we come up with something? So that's kind of how the GunJitsu Podcast flourished and everything. I guess we were set to release in December of last year. We pushed it out to the first of the year. So we sent out our first episode in January of 2020. I haven't looked at it lately because I haven't kept up with the count on it, but I think we've probably got about 16 or so episodes out. You can find that on Apple or Spotify, our hosting service. There's a lot of other platforms that supposedly you can get podcasts on. I don't know what they are. I just know Apple and Spotify. So bear with me on that. But yeah, that's kind of what we did. We just we really got into the love of competitive shooting. I've done jiu-jitsu forever. Andrew's done jiu-jitsu forever. So we just kind of wanted to combine it, kind of help give people the insight of getting into jiu-jitsu or getting on the range, whether you want to compete or not. But hopefully we'll be able to help you get that little bit of inkling in your body to maybe step on the mats for your first class, or hey, you might be even sign up for your first competition, whether it be a local match or actually go into a state championship or anything higher than that. But we just want to help you and guide you and get you either, I guess our little slogan is, we'll either see you on the mats or on the range. So that's what we hope the podcast will do for people and give them a little bit of knowledge on what we do.
And you and Andrew were both police officers together as well, correct?
Yep, we both at one time we worked for the same local agency. He's still there. I moved on to the federal side about, I guess January will be 4 years that I went to the federal side, which I had in my career of over 13 years in law enforcement. I was at the federal level, and then I left and went to local PD for many years, and then I left and came back to the federal side and everything. The federal side is a whole lot more family friendly and everything, and I've got wife and kids and a whole lot better schedule than out running the projects at 2:00 in the morning. So
yeah, I hear you on that one.
Yeah.
We got a question from Alan. He says, what about hip and knee replacements? Will that be a hindrance to train BJJ?
No, I mean, I don't think it will. You know your own body better than your instructor or me or anybody else. You know what your limitations are and what you can do. I've had a lot of guys that have had injuries. They've had this replaced, that replaced, and everything. And me as an instructor, I'm not doing my job if I'm not keeping you safe. And Rich knows the way I cater my class. I almost cater my classes to where it's almost a private training session all within the hour of the class that we're doing. I try to come around to every single person that's on the mats and go, what's not clicking, what's clicking, what can we do to make it better? I try to teach the jiu-jitsu that'll fit your weight and height as it'll fit the next guy's weight and height. It's not that one magic technique to fit everybody's needs. So, I mean, I try to teach, and that's kind of a good thing. I've got a real good friend. He's a police officer. Unfortunately, many years ago, he was shot after a pursuit with a 12-gauge slug through his femur. And his leg is he's mobile, but his leg is fully locked in the lock position. His knee does not bend. And he walks with a straight out leg and everything. And I teach jiu-jitsu, and I'll lay down on the mats and I will lock my leg out where I cannot bend it. And I will find ways to cater towards his disability or anything like that. So yeah, whether you have a hip replacement or knee replacement, do what you're comfortable with. It might even be more beneficial for you trying out jiu-jitsu and coming at it at a real slow pace, because it may add to your mobility. You don't have to come into the 18-year-old competition class where all these guys are meat eating and wanting to go to worlds, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm at this point in my life where those really aren't my classes anymore either. I want to stay healthy and do this for a long time. So that being said, it might help your mobility just to come in. Best thing to do is, and Rich can attest to this, find you a friend that wants to go with you. You had your brother-in-law coming with you, and similar ages and all that. So I mean, that's a way to, somebody's going to take care of you. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but hopefully that kind of answered it, or maybe at least sparked your interest a little bit to maybe give it a go. Hey, like Rich knows, I do this for everybody, but shoot me a message. You can shoot me a DM on the Instagram or here at Facebook or whatever. And if you're looking for a school in your area, just tell me where you live, and I'll try to research some schools for you and give you my personal, hopefully professional advice on what to look for when you're looking at a school's website. And most likely the jiu-jitsu community is not terribly huge. So, I mean, I'm probably going to know some sort, at least the lineage of that school and all that, but I'd be more than happy to help you out. Hope that answered your question.
No, it did. I'll just throw something in there from a guy who's had 3 knee surgeries myself. And I've had a biceps tenodesis where they cut the bicep tendon, completely throw it away, and then they screw your bicep into your arm. So I know some of the shoulder things, whether it's Kimura or omoplata, are a little risky for me. But, I just tell my training partner, and I've never had a training partner that tried to injure me once I said, hey, bro, I'm 51, bad knees, bad shoulder. If you want to do technique, I'm your guy. If you're 22 years old and want to go to worlds and you're a maniac, I may not be the guy to roll with, but I've always had people be very respectful. And to your point about our buddy who was, cannot put anybody in the guard because of his leg being straight. And I've rolled with him, and, Cody, you've showed him some stuff that still makes him a dangerous man, even with his physical limitations. And I think that's one of the good things about what you do is you really put yourself inside where your student is at in that moment and give them tools and techniques that will work for them 99.9% of the time. So, which kind of leads into the next question that Brett is kind of asking. He says, is BJJ for cops different than normal because they are armed and concerned about disarming? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you enter a weapon of some sort into a grappling match, it's definitely different than walking into a Gracie Baja school or any other affiliation out there, which there's tons of great affiliations, and I won't get into that right now or whatever, but I use Gracie Baja always as my example. But yeah, it's a little different, but Rich knows I teach my class. My class is a mixture of a sports class, a self-defense class, a law enforcement class. I will teach you the same technique and then turn around the cop next to you. He's learning the same technique, but I may put just a tad bit of a spin on it for him, for maybe putting him, instead of I may have you submit the guy with X whatever, the cop, I may be like, hey, you're not really trying to armbar this guy and win do it that way, or trying to sweep this guy for 2 points or whatever. So yeah, it's just a little different, but I just put a spin on it. Might help them put him more in a controlling, handcuff position, and everything. So hopefully that's answered there.
Yeah. James is joining us. Good morning, James. And welcome to Coffee with Rich. We're glad you're here. He says he's running late, but we're glad you're here. Please hit that like, share. So you're talking about Gunjitsu and what led you and Andrew to do that. Love the podcast. Please check it out. What about law enforcement? When did you realize that you wanted to be the police?
Probably about after 6 months of sitting in college as an engineering major.
Yeah.
No, so when I went into college, I was like, I want to be an engineer. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an engineer. So after, I think it was probably 6 months to a year, my first year in college, I just was not digging that whatsoever. So I actually withdrew from that. I wasn't old enough to be a police officer or anything at the time, but I was like, maybe this community college down the road from my house, they have this criminal justice program. Maybe if I just jump in and start working on my associate's degree at the time, I have a bachelor's degree now, but I was like, maybe I'll start working on that. I can jump into law enforcement, and so that's kind of when I knew for sure that I wanted to be a police officer professionally. But I mean, I grew up, I can tell you, like right now, I grew up nonstop. My dad had me watching Cops. I know as goofy as that sounds, but I mean, I watch Cops religiously. I hate that show today. Now, being in law enforcement for 13 years, I can't watch it at all. I don't care anything about the police car that's pulled over on the side of the road going down the interstate. I've seen it, lived it. It's cool. Keep going and all that. But, I watched Cops religiously growing up, and I was like, man, this looks like a really fun job, which it's not all it's cracked up to be when you think you're just chasing people nonstop. It's not like that. But yeah, so first year in college, not for me as far as engineering goes. I decided to be a police officer. It's been a pretty good road so far. It's taken good care of me. It's allowed me to do some fun stuff, especially here on the federal side, with some fun trips and things like that. But I did a lot of fun stuff when I was in local law enforcement also, everything from narcotics to gangs to, it's just opened a whole lot of doors to a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. TC has a question here, Cody. He says, and TC is a retired FBI agent.
Next question. No, go ahead.
I forgot our pre-show, Cody. You said you will not take any questions from TC Fuller. I forgot that. Sorry about that.
Who's asking the question?
Okay.
Much love, TC.
Yeah. TC says, I've long noted that law enforcement organizations are diligent about teaching firearms from the 2-yard line to the 25-yard line. They're also good at teaching hands-on. They always seem weakest when it comes to gunfighting at contact distances. Given your professions, does your school work on these areas of training?
So not necessarily in like Gracie Baja, if you're kind of going the route of, do we introduce red guns into training or anything? That's not so much in Gracie Baja schools that I've been in. Have we actually, did that type of stuff? More of that stuff I kind of do on the side when I get called out a lot for like police academies. They'll have me come out and teach and stuff, and we'll play a little bit like that. Really, though, these recruits are so basic that it's even hard to get into the classes that these academies and police departments want me teaching. It's hard to get into right off the bat, starting with teaching grappling with some sort of weapon or gun or something of that nature. I really feel there could be a whole lot better teaching done. But no, not really. Me and Andrew with Gunjitsu, we have talked. We're probably going to start doing some sort of videos or grappling where we've got a bunch of red guns, but we may start playing around with some more stuff. Maybe release some videos for law enforcement to kind of help with that.
And before Cody and Andrew can get those videos out, we've already got those videos on AmericanWarriorCider.com. Yes. And actually, Cody did a video with us. So if you want to check out a video that Cody and Andrew and I did, it was the 5 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves that everybody needs to know. And you can find that at AmericanWarriorCider.com. Sorry, Cody, a little shameless plug there.
No, that's good. And I'm glad you say that. So watch my article. I forgot. We did the video. I don't know. Did I write an article with that too? Or
yeah.
Okay. So those those are not the 5 end all be alls, because I think when I was even telling Rich when I did that, I said, man, my most basic 5 is always a living document. It just always changes. So those are 5 fantastic techniques, but you never know where my mind will be at tomorrow on what those 5 will be. Today, I love them. Tomorrow, we'll talk more about them.
Well, they're just basic. And your point about if you're a guy or gal out there watching this morning, it's like, I want to get to the gun grappling. I want to get to the gun grappling. You probably need at least a minimum of probably 1 year of BJJ just to know enough to appreciate those techniques. Would you agree with that? Or am I off base?
No. That's spot on. Like you said, you got to learn to, I guess you got to start crawling before you walking and walking before you run. So yeah, you got to get some sort of foundation and all that. But hey, if you're day 1 and you've never grappled, somebody puts a gun in your face, so you better figure something out. So
yeah,
you might have to start running before you can crawl. So
that's true. Tiny says, Rich, you got the Kung flu. Yeah, sorry about the coughing this morning. I don't know what's up with that. Let's see. We've got some more questions here, Cody. This is kind of like you mentioned, when did you want to be a police officer? And you talked a little bit about your law enforcement background. So in your opinion, what is the purpose of law enforcement?
Really, the purpose of law enforcement is for me, it's to take care of your community. As a local police officer, when I went to work for my local agency and everything, I cared about the citizens of that community. I lived in that community, and my purpose was to, be that guy when somebody needed it, whether it was their, policemen don't show up on the best day and all that for people. We show up typically on your worst day, whether that is a fender bender on the, interstate or city street or whatever. You're not having a good day. So, I just wanted to serve our community. So my purpose was to serve those citizens, keep them safe, be the guy that when bad things were happening, I would be the guy there to hopefully mitigate any issues they were having. But law enforcement purpose is to hopefully it's to restore order. But as we can see around this country, it's different in a lot of areas. Luckily, my local community, I'm sure yours, Rich, has not seen a lot of what these other states and whatnot are seeing. But yeah, that's kind of my opinion of the purpose of law enforcement, is just to, to promote the public safety and keep people safe and just uphold the laws that allow us to live in a prosperous community.
Yeah. So I know we didn't have this in the show notes, but I cannot let a guy with your background, your knowledge, skills, and abilities go without saying, what was your initial thoughts when you saw the George Floyd video?
It was rough. It was rough to watch and everything. I think, this has nothing to do with what I do for a living or anything, but I feel that there was 2 bad people that showed up that day. Yeah, it was just rough. It was really rough to watch and everything. So, yeah, I don't even know where to go with that. It's not good.
Yeah,
it did nothing for our communities, our police forces. It did nothing. It was excessive, to say the least. So, lack of training.
Yeah. And I don't think that for me, as someone who has had my knee on someone's back and neck too many times to count, it's not that the technique is bad, it's the application of the technique and the length and duration of the technique. Once the guy went unconscious.
Yeah. 8 minutes or so is,
yeah,
we'll put that in the excessive category. So yeah, it's really rough and all that.
Yeah. Please like and share. We got more to come this morning. Thank you for watching Coffee with Rich. We're joined today with my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, Cody Hudson, federal law enforcement officer right here in the great state of Tennessee. Also the co-host of the GunJitsu Podcast and I guess chief instructor of Hudson Jiu-Jitsu. Let's see. Kathleen says, thanks guys. Got to run. I'll catch the replay. Happy Thanksgiving to all. Yeah. Happy Black Friday.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. Elke says, Rich, do your glasses interfere with BJJ or do you wear contacts? These are just readers, Elke. I don't wear them when I'm rolling. I don't need to. Matter of fact, I'm going to shamelessly plug the article I just wrote. One of the things that I mentioned in the 6 undertaught rules is vision. You don't hear a lot about what you should be looking at and what you shouldn't be looking at. And I think one of the things, and Cody, I invite your discussion on this, is you need to, your vision, part of your vision is with your body when you're rolling with somebody. I need to know where his hands are, what he's looking at, where his head is at. And I can't always see those things because of my position. So I need to be able to feel where they're at with my body. Am I wrong in saying that?
No. There's a lot of feel, that comes with jiu-jitsu. Obviously, I mean, you're grappling somebody, so you're touching and everything, but there's a lot of feel. The more you do it, you could almost have rolls. Excuse me. You can have these rolls where you can close your eyes and do everything that you can with your eyes open and everything. So yeah, it's definitely feel. I mean, obviously in a street fight or something like that, you probably don't want to close your eyes or anything like that. But I mean, you get comfortable with the techniques and your body's movement and everything, where you don't necessarily have to have your vision as far as doing something like that.
Yeah, and I don't have this in the article, but one of the things that every jiu-jitsu guy knows, probably from your first week or two's worth of lessons, is position before submission. And can you talk about that briefly?
Yeah, Rich, the motto, don't get greedy.
That's right.
So don't get greedy. Maintain your position, control your position, own your position. Worry about the submission later. I would rather crush somebody with my own body weight and them go, I give up, than to even have to submit them, So Jiu-Jitsu Technique, the article I wrote, the video on AWS, you'll see knee on belly. That's the number one position that I love. That's the number one position that I will teach you within your first class or two. I want you to know knee on belly quick and everything. It's a great control position to attack, get up and leave, everything like that. But yeah, I would rather own the position and everything before I even start to worry about a submission. You don't have to have a submission to win a fight. You can just control them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Michael Seymour is on this morning. Michael is I believe maybe a 2-strap purple belt. I trained with Michael at another school because I guess I should say this now. I have done no-gi 10th Planet for years, and I also trained with Cody for years. And I think that Cody is a master of the gi, but I think also training a little no-gi is important. And I know you do some no-gi, Cody. You're by no means, I don't know what you're doing no-gi, but can you talk to those that don't understand the difference?
Yeah. So basically you got no gi, exactly what it sounds. No gi. Gi is your uniform, your kimono. I don't have one here in my workshop this morning. I'd hold one up and all that. It's in the house, but no gi, it's different. You don't have certain grips and stuff. If you're talking with the gi, you got a lapel, you got a collar you can grab. You've got all this material that you can grab. If you think about, we're in the winter, getting into the winter months and stuff like that. People have big jackets on. You have grips, stuff to grab. No gi, it's t-shirts and shorts. There's not a lot to grab. If you're talking rule sets, they're not going to allow you in a IBJJF tournament to reach out and grab. And that's, for people that don't know, that's the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. It's just, who my certification, my black belt certified through and all that, but not to get into that. But like, you can't, in a no-gi match, if you're talking a rule set, you can't just grab somebody's t-shirt and try to choke them with it in a no-gi match. So different rule sets, there's different grips. They're both fantastic ways to train. I really push the gi for anybody that wants to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to do that and stick with it. Do no gi once a week, or me and Rich have a geographic area between us, so it's a long drive either or. so he can get more no-gi classes in and be back home with his family very quickly. To come to me, he's got to set aside a few hours to take care of business. But so there's nothing wrong at all. But my advice would be to make sure you at least get that gi training in. You really need to know the grips. It slows down. It's very technical. You can kind of learn it. And Rich, you know this in no gi. It's athletic. It's very athletic. Not that the gi is not, but it's a lot faster pace. It's a lot sweatier. And all that.
Yeah. Personally, for me, I'm a big fan of gi. If I could only do gi, I probably would. It's just from my judo background. I got used to the grips, and being a bouncer, I got used to the grips, and it worked for me. John Ferrone, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. John says, that's a great answer. He's referring to your answer on law enforcement, Cody. He said, standing to assist the public. God bless all law enforcement members. Will Parker says, I learned about no vision when I was wrestling for years. Walt says, good to see you guys catch the rest on the replay. Good morning, Walt. And Michael Seymour, one of my training partners, says, I roll with my eyes closed more often than not to try to force myself to feel it more and rely less on seeing it. Yeah, great point. His knee on belly is brutal. Yeah, I had an issue recently, probably about 5 weeks ago, where I was at a friend's lake house and there was someone there who was drunk. And before I knew the guy was even upset at anybody, he took a swing at me and ended up taking him to the ground, immediately went to knee on belly in a gift wrap position, just held positional control. I didn't want to hurt the guy. I didn't want to be on my back in the guard because I didn't know who his friends might be there. It was kind of an awkward situation. I talked to him for a minute. He didn't even realize he swung on me. And I let him up, walked him out the door, and everybody was happy. But my point is, it goes back to what you said, Cody, about don't get greedy, right? Don't go for that submission. I didn't need to choke the guy out because, like I said, he was a drunk. He didn't even know he had did what he did. And we just put him in a little knee on belly for a minute. He got to think about it, and then he decided that he'd do something else. But Elke says, thanks, Rich. Here's another. Cody, would you roll with Jocko if the opportunity arose?
Absolutely. I don't turn down a roll. So yeah, the only roles that I end up turning down are typically brand new people because they're the most dangerous people on the mats. They hurt you because they don't have a clue what they're doing, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, I will roll with them, but I'm a lot more timid these days with brand new or wiry young people and everything. But absolutely, Jocko, much love for him. He's an awesome dude. I've watched a lot of his stuff and listened to him. And yeah, I would absolutely roll with him. No questions asked.
No questions asked. Please like and share. We got more to come with Cody this morning. Let's see, Cody. And I know this has been something that one of our members has asked a lot of our former guests, and that is, give us your best day, worst day, whether that's professionally, personally, whatever. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, my best day, I try to live my best day every day, as in I come home or I go pick up my two awesome boys, walking through the door to see them and my beautiful wife. That's my best day. So I try to live that every day. I come home to them. I pick up my kids every day from childcare, my parents' house, whatever. That's truly my best day, getting to see them, and they're growing too fast. Worst day, it's probably every police officer's nightmare that they have to live with and see the dreams in their head and all the negativity and stuff. But, my worst day, I still live with it to this day, but I still see a 9-month-old death that I worked probably 10 years ago and all that. So that's probably my worst day, because I could probably draw it to scale on a piece of paper, the scene of the color of the carpet, the couch, where the couch was at, where the baby was positioned. It's just, not trying to be graphic or anything, but that's probably my worst day that I have to live with. I can see it every single time I close my eyes. So that's why my best day is truly picking my kids up and making sure they're happy and healthy.
Yeah, that's a good one. I used to be when I was a officer in the Marine Corps, my last couple of years, one of the things I did on the side was I was a creative writing teacher. And there was a couple of other instructors that had their Masters of Fine Arts in creative nonfiction. And for whatever reason, they invited me, and I did several of their workshops. And then I was an instructor with them. And we had one of our investigators on the base that one of the things that the creative nonfiction writing program we taught was it helped people work through PTSD. And the one thing that had haunted this guy, Cody, was a story similar to yours. He had worked a case where there was the death of an infant, and the story was called The Gray because the child was gray when he saw the baby, and it just haunted the guy, man. I can't imagine. I never had to do anything like that, man. So God bless you for that. Elkie says, great answer. Newbies to anything are the scariest. I don't have this on the thing, but one time someone came to your school, and it was his first night doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I forget what it was, but it was a positional roll, and you had us put the guy in the guard, and they were going to try to escape or whatever. And the guy gets in my guard, and he goes, just so you know, I'm a Krav Maga black belt. I'm like, all right, cool. And
Everybody's a Krav Maga black belt.
I know.
Paul, that was for you. I knew it because you sent me a message.
Yeah. So all I did was, as soon as, we slapped hands, bumped fists, I gave him a little active guard, and he didn't even put his hands up. He just bashed his face off the mat like a toddler, like he had never done anything before. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I figured he'd put his hands out. But can you talk to the differences perhaps in something like Krav Maga to say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah. So what I was saying, Paul, AWS member, he sent me a message. Paul's a big time Krav Maga guy, and give it a chance. Give it a go. No joke. I give it a hard time because I am a Krav Maga law enforcement instructor. I went to the school several years ago and had to teach it for work and everything like that. So it does have its place, as jiu-jitsu has its place, or judo or karate or anything. Every martial art, as long as you're doing something, you're doing something right. If you're sitting around on the couch eating Cheetos, doing nothing whatsoever, you have no room to rag on anything at all. But so Krav Maga, Israeli fighting system, however you want to term it, and all that. It's to me, my opinion, it's aggression. It's every tooth and nail, crotch kicks, eye gouges. It's everything. It's got its purpose and all that. In a street fight and a dog fight, it's got its place and all that. So it's really the difference, though, is just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just that grappling. As to Krav Maga, I'm sure there's some sort of a little bit of grappling, but I mean, it's never going to be as fine-tuned as like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappling. I mean, that's what I specialize in. That's what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. So that's kind of a nutshell.
Tim Larkins had a video recently. I don't know if you saw it, Cody. Well, it's maybe been a year now. And there's these two MMA fighters, and they come out and they're getting mugged, I think, in the streets of Brazil. And one of them ends up getting hit with a 2x4. And you can see the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I don't know if he's a brown belt or whatever he was, but he's standing there and he's like watching this 2x4 come and hit him right in the face. And to Tim's point is, that's one of the things that maybe Krav Maga has. They'll teach you how to defend against a straight baton or a pull stick or a 2x4, something like that, whereas you don't normally see that kind of stuff in, say, the Gracie Baja curriculum.
Yeah, I really stand behind some of the Krav Maga, like weapon retention, weapon takeaway stuff. I haven't been to a civilian side of any type of Krav Maga classes. I was told to go to the LE school that I got certified in and everything. And there's some good takeaways. It's like everything. Use what you can and everything. Take what you can from this instructor, that instructor, and make a well-rounded person or a well-rounded fighting skill and everything.
Terry says, happy day after Thanksgiving. Yeah, thank you for everybody joining us here on Black Friday on Coffee with the Rich. Please like and share. I got a few more questions for Cody. One of the things that's really not on here, and I'm ashamed to say it before I continue on your LE background, is what got you into competitive shooting, Cody? And is that your new love or what?
Yeah, so I had learned about this competitive. First and foremost, I'm not really a rifle guy. I carry one on my special team at work. I have one in my police car, all that. I have competed with the rifle, but I've never been like a rifle guy. I've always been a pistol guy through and through, ever since I was a little kid. First time I ever shot a pistol, I was 5 years old. It was my dad's Beretta 92 that I've got sitting in my gun safe. It is, I've always been a pistol guy. So with that being said, it was probably, I moved to Memphis in 2008, and I really started getting interested into competition pistol shooting. Never did it. Never even went and watched it. I'd seen it on TV, and it might even been the internet or whatever, but I remember seeing videos or shows or something involving, and I was like, man, this stuff looks amazing. But like people being a little timid or standoffish of wanting to train jiu-jitsu, I didn't know anybody that did it. I didn't know a soul, and I just didn't know if I was wanting to step forward and go try it out by myself. So I didn't do it. I was like, I've been shooting pistols as long as I can walk, blah, blah, blah. I'm good. I'm good at shooting. I'm good. In my mind, I didn't need anything. I didn't need to be taught anything. I could score a police qual any day of the week, no problem whatsoever, and all that. So, fast forward 2008, I think I got into competitive shooting in 2017. And mine and your good buddy, Andrew, he was like, why don't you come shoot an IDPA match with me? And I was like, you do this stuff? I've known him for years. I didn't know he was doing that. And he's like, yeah, man. He goes, come shoot a match with me. I found my end. My friend, my buddy, my good buddy, invites me out to shoot a match. From day one of shooting the match, I've been hooked. I've probably shot at least some sort of competition at least once a month ever since 2017. I could take that black belt, right? Where's it at? There it is. I could retire it today. And as long as I'm on the range shooting matches, that's all I care about. That is where my heart is at, because it is just a challenge. It is a love, and so that's kind of how I got into competitive shooting. So I guess what we're coming up on, I guess March will be 4 years that I've been doing it. I just shot the Georgia State Championship 2 weeks ago, something like that. I went down to Georgia on a Sunday and shot the match, and had a real good time. So I try to shoot these bigger matches when I can. And so, yeah, it's fun. But that's how I kind of got into it. Finding that buddy or finding that end to invite you and get you squared away. And now I've shot a few matches. Typically, I don't shoot without Andrew, but it's that time of the year where he hunts and I don't hunt. So I'm going to keep shooting.
Yeah. Tiny says, I was a law enforcement self-defense instructor years ago. The big disadvantage we have, Tiny says, the big disadvantage is we have rules and the suspect does not. And I think that's a very good point that we need to make here. Let's go to the next question. Cody says, the question I have for you is, given that we're in 2020, and the Archangel Gabriel is blowing the trumpet, it seems like, on any given day. What is the state of law enforcement today, man?
It's not great. It's not great at all. 13 years ago when I got into police work, and that's not even that long ago, but when I got into it over 13 years ago, it was a whole lot different back then. Different rules. It was different. Guys that have been doing this twice as long as me or even longer than that, they'll tell you even the same thing. Times change. 2020 is pretty rough. We mentioned George Floyd. We mentioned, all kinds of different stuff. The health of these other states and cities that we see. We can look at New York for that matter. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or not, it seems like those guys can't do anything in the state of New York. It seems like, I couldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it in those states and all that. Too many police officers that are following policy and trying to do the best of their ability in their job are being hung out to dry. I mean, it's not a good state, and the candidate pool is in the dumps. I mean, you're scraping the bottom of an empty barrel, trying to get candidates in. My agency, thank goodness, it's great. We don't hire inexperienced new people and all that. We typically don't even look at, and I'm not the say-so guy on it, but typically we look at guys that got at least 10 years of experience before we look at bringing them on or anything like that. So which like I said, working for a federal agency, it's a little different than a local agency that's putting on their own police academies, just trying to get people in the door and everything like that. But yeah, the state of it for 2020 and in the last few years is just not phenomenal. And I hate that because I mean, it's a great profession. It's fun. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it.
You mentioned New York City, and for the viewer this morning, or whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, thank you for watching Coffee with the Rich, whatever that may be. But is interesting. If you aren't aware of it, in New York City, they have outlawed putting your knee on the back of the suspect, on the back of their neck, on their back. Period. How you control handcuffs on them when you can't put your knee on their back. What ends up happening, Cody? And I would ask you this question: if you say, Rich, you cannot grapple this guy, but you have to handcuff him, but you can't grapple him, it's almost like, what, do you want me to strike him into submission? I mean, what are you asking me to do?
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, I don't know that answer, on what those guys do. I mean, if you don't have a compliant, suspect that you're taking into custody, I mean, when it goes south, I don't know what they do. I don't know if they're still reverting to their old ways and just hoping nobody calls on them. I don't know. I couldn't imagine, somebody trying to actively resist to flee or fight me and me being hindered or the thought of going to prison, for doing something that's, in my opinion, is not wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong about knee on belly, and there's nothing wrong about holding somebody down. There's a lot of wrong with putting your knee on somebody's neck for 10 minutes, but you get what I'm saying. There has to be some sort of, give and take there, but there was no thought process into that coming down. That was somebody that had no idea, that just made up a rule.
Yeah, and they've been very clear. If you watch the training video that New York City Police Department put out, if you do put your knee on your neck, 1 instance, 1 second, you're going to be charged, and they make no bones about it.
Yeah.
David Garrett says, good morning. Good morning, David. Happy to have you on Coffee with the Rich. Elkie says, when all the options but the pistol are removed, cops only have one option. It's a great way of saying it. You got to give them more options, not less, right?
Yeah.
Jared says, send in the social workers. Yeah. Okay, Cody, I want to be respectful of your time. We've kept you on here almost an hour. Having seen the events of 2020, where is all this lawlessness going, man? What can we expect in 2021? What's your crystal ball say?
I hope we expect a 180, but we know that's not happening. I don't know. Like we've kind of dabbled on throughout the show. I feel bad for these states and communities, because there's great people that live in these states, and there's great people that live in these communities that can't do anything about what they're being faced with, and it's a shame. I mean, Portland, all these other places that we're seeing, and I feel bad for them. I really do. I mean, we're blessed, like I said, here in the great state of Tennessee, that knock on wood, hopefully we don't see any of these issues that some of these other top states are seeing like that. But I really feel bad for those communities and stuff, because there's people that, got to get up and go to work, and last thing they want to do is people march in their neighborhoods, shining spotlights in their windows all hours of the night, just terrorizing people,
Yeah, a friend of mine was telling me that her parents lives in Pennsylvania, and she said that the other night, Pennsylvania said that I think it was Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, all bars will close due to COVID or whatever at 5 p.m. All bars will close at 5 p.m. And then at 4 p.m., everybody's phone in the bar went off like an Amber Alert. Basically, like, hey, everything's shutting down in 1 hour, time to leave. And I'm like, man, this is some creepy Orwellian dystopia seems to be that we're living in.
That's something I can't get behind, is these lockdowns and shutdowns. And I don't support any of those, COVID or no COVID. I don't care. I don't support anything like that in any way, shape, or form. It's not good for us as a person. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for anything. It's I mean, I get it. There's a sickness going around and all that. And I'm not trying to put too much into that. So don't look at that as an uneducated response. Just look at it as, I don't support our freedoms being taken away. Plain and simple on that.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. I think we're giving up too much freedom for a devastating illness. I'm not taking anything away from those that have perished or those that are sick currently. I completely get it, but at the same time, we can kill a lot of people with a destroyed economy, and there's nothing that says it's going to come roaring back.
Right.
Final question for you, Cody, is what are your thoughts on, or concerns for that matter, regarding the election, the pandemic, and the coming days and weeks and months, man? What are your thoughts? What can a normal person do as far as you're concerned?
I think the election, whether it goes left or right, I mean, it's going to be different. You know, nobody's going to be happy. We're probably going to see more bad before we see good, whichever way the election goes. Same with the pandemic. We're going to see more bad before we see anything turn around. I just don't see it flipping a 180 overnight and everything being hunky-dory all over again, and everything. So I don't know what the next days, months, years, anything like that's coming, but hopefully it is for the better, and everything. So.
Yeah, I want to get to some of the comments real quick, Cody, before I let you go. Tiny says, common sense has become an uncommon virtue. Alan Kelly, who's a retired Virginia State police officer, he says that Virginia is gearing for a whirlwind of more gun control and more laws to hogtie law enforcement. Jason says, Jason Brown, good morning, Jason. He says, Orwellian is a word that has experienced a serious resurgence these days. Yes, it is. And I've talked about this on Coffee with Rich before, but for those of you that don't travel that much, I'll tell you, January of this year, we were in the UK, and it seemed like every 4 or 5 city blocks, there was a surveillance van sitting there. It was not a covert surveillance van. It was very overt. It had cameras on all 4 corners, and it said, do not cover your face as you walk by, surveillance in progress. So, I mean, some people would. They'd be like this. This was pre-COVID now. This is January of this year. And because they're using facial recognition to track the movements of their people in the UK. And I mean, that could be a coming attraction here for America. So what the response in the UK was, everybody was wearing these shirts. They were very popular. It said, make Orwell fiction again. But Tiny says, was an opinion of officers. What is your opinion of officers who know about enforcing unconstitutional orders? I don't know if I read that right, Tiny, but I'll throw it to you, Cody. You know, what are your thoughts about if you're given unconstitutional orders to enforce? What are your thoughts?
No, I support uphold the Constitution, not go against it. So that ain't jiving with me by any stretch of imagination there. And I don't think these police officers should be out there worrying about how many people you got sitting at your Thanksgiving dinner and stuff like that. So I'm a pretty conservative Southern guy here.
Yeah. Says Alan says we're politically fighting for our lives and the fight is on. Elke says they don't put it in the water anymore. Jason says, wow. Folks, I want to be respectful of Cody's time, getting back to his family. You've had him on here for an hour. Cody, any parting thoughts, sir?
If you're thinking about that first jiu-jitsu class, do it. If you're thinking about that, hey, I might want to get into competitive shooting, you owe it to yourself to do either one of those or both. Why not do both? I mean, what's Tim Kennedy's motto? Be hard to kill. Is that Tim Kennedy? Somebody's motto? I don't know. Do it. Step on the mats. Like I said earlier in the show, send me a message if you're looking for that first jiu-jitsu school and you want to see somebody's opinion on it. I don't care at all. Send me a message. And I'll try to look up some schools in your area. Hopefully, 2020, there's a lot of schools, unless they're in these states that are still shut down and stuff like that. But at least send me a message. I'll try my best to help you out.
Where can folks find you or find the GunJitsu podcast?
Yeah,
Cody?
just Instagram, my personal page, Cody S. Hudson. That one I'm always on. I get messages there. And then the Gunjitsu.podcast on Instagram. You can send messages there. For the most part, I answer all those. And that's pretty much it. If you want to send an email to Gunjitsu Podcast at Gmail. Yeah, that's really about it.
Well, Cody, thank you for coming on the show this morning. The dogs are starting to wake up.
I've got an English bulldog that just freaked out. So,
well, Cody, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do with GunJitsu Podcast, the training that you've given me and so many people. I greatly appreciate it, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me this morning. And thank you for everybody that wanted to listen to this Southern Ginger for the last hour.
All right, guys, stay safe. And remember, the fight is coming. Be ready.